Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the West Ham Network. My name's Anton, and I'm here to bring you the 5 things we learned from the Chelsea game. Listen, it wasn't a fantastic day at the office again. We know that, and again, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I know that's frustrating, and I know people want to see more positive things as the season goes on, but we are where we are. We have got new system in place, a new head coach in place. Yes, okay, there are things that we want to see changed. There are definitely changes we want to be seen made, and I think that is going to happen over time. But we're 5 games into the season. We've got 4 points under our belt, and yeah, I said last week that I saw some changes, and I think those changes, or I seen glimpses of potential hope, but today kind of smashed that down the pan. So I'm going to talk to you about the 5 things that I feel like I learned from the game against Chelsea today. Not much to go on about, really, to be honest with you. But the first one is I would not drop Paqueta. Now, my reason behind not dropping Paqueta is that we go on so much a lot about how we have not had ball playing central midfielders, and we go on all the time about a player who doesn't hold on to the ball and doesn't distribute the ball really well. And I'm hearing a lot of people saying that he's giving the ball away and he's trying really silly tricks here, there, and everywhere, but he is that sort of player. And to be honest with you, we need to start looking at the bigger picture. We need to start looking at the players that are around these players. It's like saying, I think we should drop Kudus because Kudus hasn't had a couple of good games for West Ham, but that's the most ridiculous statement in my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, of course, but for me, Paqueta is that ball-playing player, the player that can make something happen from nothing, and he's not crap overnight. So I think one of the biggest issues is it's the players that's playing around him, which leads me into point number 2. I would play Carlos Soler with Paqueta because it's an absolute no-brainer. He came in off the bench and he actually looked pretty decent. He held onto the ball. He drove with the ball. He was quick thinking. He was turning and he was building up a bit of a relationship there with Paqueta. I think he's got the legs in him. I think he's got the ability in him. We all know if we get the player that came from Spain before he went to PSG, then we've got a baller of a player. So playing Carlos Soler with Paqueta, I think changes the full dynamics of the West Ham team. No brainer. And the thing is, we need players that can show for the ball, which takes me on to number 3. And I'm bringing up Andy Irving here, but I know it's only a bit part, thing that he did in the game, but we need players to show for the ball. If you watch Chelsea when they score their goal, they play simple 1-2s, but when their player hits the ball in for the 1-2, they move, they pass and move. Listen, you don't need me to give you the dynamics of how football works. You don't need me to coach you and tell you how football works. When you're playing grassroots, when you play through any form of level of football, the simple thing is you cannot be static. You have to pass and move. And that's something we've not been doing a lot this season, which baffles me, but there has been many changes. I'm not a fan of the way that West Ham have been playing so far. Massively think it's been a bit disappointing, but I think that's also down to the fact that we're mixing it up and trying to see what the best system is. I think we're lacking a system in place, but I think what we do need to do is move away from the central midfielders who are all defensive-minded. We're playing too many defensive-minded central defensive midfielders. It doesn't add up. We don't need to do that. It doesn't suit a Lopetegui system, and it doesn't suit the sort of players that we've got, and it's really paralysing what we are capable of doing as a team. And I do think over time that transition will take place. I certainly don't think Lopetegui's sitting there saying, well, I don't think this is true, and I think we're going to keep playing this way, because nobody wants to keep playing that way. It's not going to work for me or them. So there you go. I think we need to start showing for the ball a little bit more. Now, this is an interesting one. Maybe I am harsh on Dinos. I'll tell you why I say that. Listen, I haven't rated him since he's came in. I think the jury's out on him. I want him to succeed as a player. But someone kind of alerted me to the fact that if you don't have players that show for the ball, what is your central defender going to do? I think Kilman is a very, very good centre-back. I thought Kilman had a very good game again today. Well, good-ish game, if you know what I mean. But I feel kind of slightly sorry now for Konstantinos Mavropanos because we're not showing him options. Listen, I think Todibo, when he's fit, if he's going to be fit, hopefully he will be fit sooner rather than later, comes in, starts alongside Kilman. My concern is that we're not got players to show for it. That's why the key point number 3 makes sense. You need ball playing central midfielders who come in, who drop deep, who come and collect the ball, and who drive forward. Again, I don't understand the tactics of dropping Alvarez in to centre back all game, not just part of the game. We all know that's what he does. He comes back and he collects and he can sit, but he's done it all game, and it was having a really odd effect because we were getting overrun in the midfield because we've got so many central defensive midfielders, and Rodriguez was left on his own half the time because Alvarez was here, there, and everywhere because he was getting pulled from pillar to post. It doesn't add up to me. That's why we need the ball-playing midfielders in the middle of the park. Let me know your thoughts on point number 4. And last point for me is Bowen is not a striker. I love Bowen. I love him to bits, and I think I think it's a good option if and when we really need it. But I've seen enough now to know that we need him in his best position, which is running from a deep line position out from wide and driving in at teams, because that's where he puts issues on them. So the quicker Füllkrug gets back, the quicker, the better for West Ham, 1,000,000%. Let me know the things that you think you have learned from today's game or yesterday's game against Chelsea. Apologies for that. And yeah, if you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, and let me know your thoughts on that rubbish defeat versus Chelsea. Come on, you